call is now being recorded.
Hi, this is Ayanthi Gunawardana from Buddhasport.com, and I'm on the phone today with Rafael Lovato Jr. For those who don't know, he is one of the few Americans to have won the IBJJF Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championships. He won his open weight division at the Brasileiros, and so he's very well known in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the martial arts community. So, Rafael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. So I understand you started training martial arts at a very young age. So tell us what got you into martial arts and then what brought you to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, well, I was pretty much training martial arts since the time I was born. My father, he's a lifetime martial artist. He grew up, first he started boxing, and then he was inspired by Bruce Lee to get more into traditional martial arts. And he kind of followed, that his path into JKD, Jeet Kune Do, which was Bruce Lee's, martial art that he founded. And so my father, had been training numerous martial arts. JKD kind of encompasses, a lot of different things. And he was actually an assistant instructor at a JKD school in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I was born. So, as soon as I was, old enough to walk, he was holding mitts for me and had me work boxing, Muay Thai, and he was taking me to the academy where he was an assistant instructor at, and I was kind of growing up inside the academy. I was playing on the side of the mats and things like that. And as I got older, I just kept doing a lot of JKD, a lot of Kali, Wing Chun, Eskrima, and boxing and Thai boxing. And boxing was kind of the first thing that I really fell in love with, and I started competing in when I was from about the ages 9 to 12, 13-ish. I was doing a lot of amateur Golden Gloves boxing, and that was the first sport where I had high goals and, I was really dedicated to. But then about that age, around when I was 12, 13, my father discovered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at a JKD instructors conference. They used to have these instructors conferences every year. And at that time, we lived in Oklahoma. We moved to Oklahoma when I was around 8. And so he had a school there. He made a school in Oklahoma City. And we were affiliated under Richard Gustillo, who was one of Bruce Lee's original students. And so every year he would go to these JKD instructors conferences to, all come together, and it's like a week-long thing, and they have different instructors for different martial arts. And they brought in the Gracies to teach jiu-jitsu. And so we kind of knew that there was some grappling, we knew about ground fighting at that time, before we learned about jiu-jitsu, but it was very non-technical. It was really rough. It wasn't anything like jiu-jitsu. It was kind of like the Indonesian grappling, and some kind of different stuff that was a part of JKE. So we knew about it, but we didn't know about jiu-jitsu. And so when my father discovered jiu-jitsu at one of these instructors conferences, his eyes were kind of wide open, and he fell in love with it. And so then he came home and taught me what he learned, and he started going back and forth from California back home to Oklahoma to learn. And he was going to the Gracie Academy, and then he went to the Hickson Gracie Academy. And then the next year at the instructors conference, they had the Machado brothers teach. Excuse me. And so, he really liked the Machado brothers as well. So then he started going to the Machado Brothers Academy in California. And then we get a call. He got a call from Carlos Machado saying that he was moving to Dallas, Texas to teach, for Chuck Norris. And Chuck Norris was a student of the Machado Brothers. And he wanted Carlos to come to Dallas where he was. He was there filming for Walker, Texas Ranger. And he wanted more access to Carlos. And that was amazing for us because then Carlos moved to Dallas, and he's only about three and a half hours away. And so we didn't have to go to California anymore, and we started going down to Dallas, Texas to learn. And, long story short, we kept up this routine of traveling. Like as I got a little older and my father was more busy with the business and the school, he started sending me a lot, like to travel all over. The first time I went to Brazil, I was 16 years old. And I just kept up that routine of traveling, learning, competing, going home, showing my father what I learned. And he ended up getting his black belt in 2003, and then I got mine in 2004, and we became the first American father and son Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts.
So it sounds like you had to travel a lot just to train, which for me, it's almost like, I don't want to say hard to believe, but it's sort of strange to think that there was a time where you could only learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by traveling all over the country. Because I imagine when you started, it's not like there was a neighborhood academy. Now there's academies popping up all over the U.S., but it must have been really tough when you were coming up just to find a place to train.
Yes. I mean, that was kind of the whole battle, is we were so hungry to learn. But my father had a school in Oklahoma. We couldn't just pick up and move to California and be closer. At this time, really the only jiu-jitsu there was in California and in Florida, and then Henzo was in New York. And, there was nothing in the middle. So, and Oklahoma's exactly in the middle of the country. So we were as far as could be from any jiu-jitsu. And, I never had a black belt in my state. My father and I, we never had a black belt to learn from day in, day out. Carlos in Dallas was the closest thing we could get to. And, there was no competitions in our area, so I had to travel for competitions, since I was really young. I mean, at this time, if you were an American, you wanted to get good at jiu-jitsu, you had to go to Brazil. It wasn't like today where there's all these high-level guys that live here and teach here and everything like that. I mean, you had to go to Brazil. There was no YouTube. You couldn't, just watch videos of all the best guys and learn all this stuff. You didn't even see them. You heard their names, but you didn't even know what they looked like. You had to, see them in Brazil, competing there or train with them there. So, it was hard, but it made us really appreciate everything that we learned, and we drilled it a lot, and, I took notes, and it just made me study even harder and, work even harder just to learn, and, made me appreciate it a lot more, which is something I think that can be missing a lot of times nowadays. A lot of people can, kind of take what they have for granted. A lot of people don't even want to drive an hour, to train or to do a competition, and there's still people out there in different parts of the country that don't have access to good jiu-jitsu. So, it's not like everyone everywhere is learning from a great guy now, so there's still some areas where people don't have that, and people that have it, in abundance, can take that for granted.
And, so you were one of the first Americans to win the World Championships, correct?
I was the second, yes. BJ was the first, and it's just
BJ was the first, and you were the second. So what was kind of, at that time at least, what was your preparation like? Because I feel like nowadays, like you said, there's so much more access to material, whether it's YouTube or instruction. So you have these guys today, who can scout their opponents, see what they do, and create a game plan. So what was kind of your mindset going into that specific World Championships, the first one you won?
Well, I mean, that was just kind of like, an accumulation of all my life's work, I was very fortunate to cross paths with Saulo and Shanchi Ribeiro, who are two of the greatest jiu-jitsu champions ever. And so at that time, I was really fortunate to kind of fall under their mentorship and guidance and get really, really good training, and get to compete side by side with two of the best. And so that really helped my confidence a lot and gave me more of a team and more of a home whenever I was going to these big tournaments, because before that, I was going and competing against, all these guys by myself. Maybe I had a student with me or something, but I didn't have a big team to, kind of like have that support and that high level training, and then all of us go to the tournament together. I usually just train at home in Oklahoma and then flew out and competed by myself. So it was really big for me to have that support, and I started training with them in 2004, 2003, and so after a few years of that, and getting my first few years as a black belt, getting all my experience, it just all came together for me in 2007 when I won the World Championships, and in fact I was able to win all the major Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions that year, which was the Europeans, the Pan Ams, the Brazilian Nationals, and then the Worlds, and I became the first person to ever win all those major competitions in 1 year.
Wow, okay. And you've competed at a bunch of weight classes, right? I think you've competed at 4 different weight classes.
Yes.
And was that just like a part of you, like literally growing, because you started pretty young, so you literally like had to change weight classes, or do you think it's a matter of like cutting weight and sort of finding where you belong?
It was a couple different things. Like one of the main reasons was I didn't want to be in the same division as Salo and Shanji, because we're all around the same weight, and I'd always want my own division so I could win my own medal and not have to close it out or anything. So a lot of times I would go up because I just wanted my own division. But, whenever I was a kid, I was a big kid. When I was 16, I was already, 200 pounds. And so when I used to compete in the juvenile division, the 16 and 17-year-old teenager division at the jiu-jitsu competitions, I was always like in the ultra heavy division, meaning that it was just like 180 and above, So I started getting used to competing against really big, guys right away. And so, that was just as a teenager. But then when I got promoted to purple belt and I was competing in the adult level, I stayed at that weight. So I kept fighting like bigger guys. So when I medaled at the Worlds in the purple belt, I did it in the biggest weight class, even though I was only 18 years old. So, I was just kind of always used to going against really big guys, and I was a bigger kid too. And when I got a little older, I changed my diet. I got smarter about conditioning, and I started to lean up a little bit. But from there, I have a really long frame, so I can be anywhere from 215, 220, all the way down to 190. So I've just experimented a little bit. Sometimes I like to go against the bigger guys and, use my flexibility and my game like matches well with bigger people. And other times I want to cut down, to be stronger and be bigger. But most of the time I'm just trying not to be in the same division as one of my teammates.
Okay. And I think I remember one of the things you posted, I forget if this was 2011 or 2012 Pan Am. You had just lost to Yuri Simões, I think, on points, and you said something like, it was something along the lines of, the game I've loved for so long has turned into nothing more than like a points competition, or like you're playing by the rules. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and where you see sport jiu-jitsu going?
Sure. In fact, this last weekend, the World Championships, I was really happy with how the game was being played. I thought it was a little better and more open. People were more aggressive than what it had been in the last few years. But it's part of the art. It's part of the sport. Everything's going to evolve and have different moments where different things are catching on, and then people have to figure it out, and it evolves from there. But in a lot of ways, I think the sport aspect of jiu-jitsu is kind of moving away from the self-defense aspect and kind of like the martial art aspect of it. But that's kind of like a give and take. As the sport gets bigger, that's going to happen. More people are doing it. They're going to try to figure out all the ways that they can win and do it with as little risk as possible, a lot of times. And I think many times people go out there with a mindset of not to lose more than to really try to win. And it's just kind of coming from a different time, the way I see some people play, sometimes I just don't understand it, because they try to get a little ahead and then stall out the game, or use different positions where the match stays really close the whole time and then they can win at the end, or sometimes people just win with one move, they win with one sequence or something like that, instead of like trying to be better than the person in all areas. They're just trying to be just a little bit better than them in one specific area, and that's it, But, I think it's just part of the process, and I was really happy with how everyone was playing last weekend. And my thing is, I don't want it to get to a point where people are actually holding themselves back. They're not really, letting themselves go and learn from the experience of competition. They're holding back so much that they're not going to be able to learn anything, because nothing really happens out there. You have to take the risk and kind of accept the challenge, and whatever happens, if you win or lose, you got to go back home and learn from it. And if you only play the specific style, then you're not really going to learn that much, from competition, and you're going to hold yourself back, So, but I think we're going to move past that, and there's always going to be some people that are going to play, really within the rules, and others that just go, but that's just going to be part of it.
And speaking of, styles and challenges, this weekend you're competing in an event called Metamoris. For those of our listeners who are not sure what Metamoris is, it's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu event where it's a 20-minute match, submission only, so you can't win by points. And if the time runs out, it's just neither person wins. It's effectively a DQ. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the Metamoris format and how it's different preparing for that versus preparing for an IBJJF event.
Yeah, well, in fact, the format's a little different than what you said. In the first event, if there was no submission, it was a draw. And now in this event, if there's no submission, there will be 3 judges that will make a decision. So this is the first time where there will be a winner even if there's no submission. So.
Okay.
But basically, for me, I had such a great experience at the first event, and kind of going off what I just said about the IBJJF and the rules and things like that. I think to get to the purest form of jiu-jitsu, you're going to have to take away as many rules as possible, and so with this format, the longer time, which I think is huge, because in order to beat someone at a really high level, it's going to take some time, and you really need time to, find the moment where they make the mistake or make them tired, and so a longer time limit is a much better way to determine a real victor, and see who's really better. So that I really like. And then the fact that there's no points, there's no advantages, there's hardly any rules really, makes it very pure, and there's not going to be any stalling, and it's almost just like you're training. There's the referee, the guy in the middle, he's there, but really all he's doing is just making sure that, we don't fall outside the mat area or start punching each other, you know what I mean? So it's really jiu-jitsu at its purest form, and for me these rules are perfect. I don't have to worry about scoring points or people scoring points on me and things like that. I can just go there and focus on trying to get the submission and opening up my game. Sometimes you have to be careful. In IBJJF, you open up too much and you let a guy score, you might not ever come back from that, and it's only 10 minutes. So an event like this, I think it brings out the best in everyone's jiu-jitsu. Depending on what style of jiu-jitsu you play, you might have a hard time if you're used to playing within the rules. So I think this is, a great event to showcase real jiu-jitsu. It's a very professional event. They do a lot of great things for promoting the show and getting it on different media outlets and treating the athletes really well. It's just like the first one almost felt like a UFC for jiu-jitsu. It was just an amazing event, and so I'm super excited for this one this weekend. I have a great opponent in Andre Galvao. He's one of the best out there, pound for pound, over the last decade, and so I'm really excited to go out there and go against one of the best and show my jiu-jitsu once again.
Awesome. And you were talking about, giving jiu-jitsu more exposure in different media outlets. And most of us who practice jiu-jitsu know that financially there's not a huge return on investment for jiu-jitsu unless you manage to open up a successful school. And one way a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes have been, diversifying the way they can provide for themselves is by coming out with instructionals. And I know you've come out with your guard passing. You have a gi passing instructional and a no gi passing instructional, if I'm not mistaken. So what kind of compelled you to create that instructional, and what do you think impacted your teaching style? Because I've heard a lot of positive reviews of it. So if you'd like to talk about that, that would be great.
Yeah. I've been a black belt now for 9 years, and I just started putting out these instructional sets towards the end of last year. And I had thought about it for a long time. It's kind of like the process. Like, you win a world title, you win some big tournaments, and, then you have a name, and guys put out, DVD sets to, kind of like, make some money off of their achievements. And I always kind of hesitated and waited. I wanted to do it at the right time, and I also wanted to really think about what I wanted to teach first, and, what it was that I wanted to share with everybody in the jiu-jitsu community and everything like that. So, I took my time, and over the last, few years as a black belt, the area of my game that developed the most was my passing game, everything that I do on top. And, I realized how much I kind of neglected that area, and how important it is, and, developing this style, this pressure passing style that I refer to and you hear people talk about a lot. It's kind of like a very specific style where you make the person on bottom feel extremely uncomfortable, and you use your weight, and, you kind of like smash the person. And that's become kind of my favorite thing to do, and I think it's kind of something that hadn't been put out there very much as far as another instructional series. And so I was just thinking about what I could do to make the biggest impact on the jiu-jitsu community, what I feel like I can help people out with the most, because everyone kind of studies the guard. The guard always has new cool things coming out that people get into and they try to learn. And I just felt like passing has been neglected for a long time. So I wanted to focus in on that, put out my complete system, exactly what I do in competition at the highest level, and everything involved in that. It's not just random techniques. It's a system where each technique builds upon each other, and I talk about all the what ifs. What if the guy does this? He's going to maybe react like this, and because I understand how everyone's going to probably react to each move, and so I just put it out in a whole system. And, I got a lot of great reviews. I think a lot of people love my teaching style. I've been teaching since I was like 16 years old at my academy with my father, to help him out. So I have, well over a decade of teaching experience. And the way that we learned, having to travel so much and take notes and study and come home and drill and work on it, and then we started teaching everything we learned to our students right away. To help them get better. So if we had better students, it would make us better. We really had to become like students of the game. We had to we couldn't just show up on the mat and then have someone to teach us and learn from every day. You know, we didn't just learn every day. So had to really dissect and analyze jiu-jitsu to all the fine details and figure out exactly, you know, what makes this technique work or what is the ins and out of this position and everything. And it helped me just understand jiu-jitsu, you know, as deep as possible and then convey that to my students. You know, I've been working on that for a long time and trying to help my students get better. And, you know, so I feel like, you know, a lot of people can connect with my teaching style. You know, it makes me feel good. I'm just happy that I'm making a difference with everyone out there. And I feel like I have all these students around the world, you know, that I don't even really know or have even met personally. You know, it's so cool to get messages from these guys and telling me that I helped their game or helped them win a tournament, things like that. So, you know, at this point, I have the gi pressure passing system out, the no gi pressure passing system out. If people want to see more about that, they can go to pressurepassing.com. And I'm actually in the process of releasing a submission series set that I'm calling the Seal the Deal series. So it kind of builds off of the pressure passing. After we pass the guard, what submissions are we going to look for? And it's all my best submissions. I'm kind of doing that because of my Metamoris match, submission-only match, you know, to build upon the pressure passing. So I'm sitting out free videos for those right now. If anyone out there wants to check those out, they can go to LovatoJuniorBJJ.com and sign up to see the videos. So, you know, I'm just excited to make a difference and start putting my techniques out there, the things that I've been working on my whole life, and share it with everybody else.
And it sounds like you have a lot on your plate with, you know, filming and marketing and releasing these DVDs and competing and traveling, but you own your own school. Now, is it mainly you teaching at the school or some of your other black belts, or how does that work?
Yeah, so, you know, it's the same academy that I grew up in. You know, my father, he started the academy, in fact, 20 years ago, 1993, in Oklahoma City. And in 2010, I took it over. You know, he had worked so hard for so long, so I took over the business, and you know, since then it's just, you know, it's been a lot of work. You know, you kind of see everything differently when you're on the other side and you're the boss, you're the owner, and everything's in your hands. But you know, I'm really fortunate. Like my wife, she helps me out so much. She works there at the academy too. And, you know, my father, he still teaches. He's still on the mat with me, which is, you know, just amazing after all these years, you know, that we're still sharing time on the mat with each other. And, in fact, he's coming out here this weekend to watch me compete at Metamoris. So is my wife. But you know, also I have a lot of high-level students. My first black belt, Justin Rader, he's a black belt world champion. You know, he's an amazing competitor and a great teacher. He teaches a lot for me, and I have you know, a lot of brown belts and other guys that teach. So, you know, we've been there for a long time, so I have a lot of high-level guys. So, you know, everything can still keep running whenever I'm away. But you know, it's a lot of work, but it's a very rewarding job, and I get to do what I love and just kind of keep building on what my father started. And, you know, after I'm done competing, you know, like the next thing is to develop the next generation of the champions. And, you know, I've already been teaching for a long time, and I have a lot of black belts and a lot of very successful competitors at the highest level. And I'm looking forward to, you know, training even more champions later on down the line, where I can focus, you know, 100% on that, and I'm not competing so much.
And you've also referenced that you're going to be making the switch to MMA. Is this something you've always wanted to do? Like, you mentioned earlier in the interview that you had done boxing. So is MMA something you've always wanted to do? And what are your goals in MMA?
Yeah, you know, like whenever I was watching the UFC as a kid, you know, when I was learning jiu-jitsu and I'd already spent so much of my life doing boxing and Thai boxing, you know, I was kind of thinking in my head, oh, wow, you know, that's what's, you know, been meant for me. I'm supposed to be fighting in the UFC, you know. like jiu-jitsu is my passion. I fell in love with jiu-jitsu and just devoted my whole life to that. I'll still train Thai boxing, occasionally. I still like to work my stand-up game and develop that as well. But, since I've been competing so much at the high level, I haven't had the same amount of time to put that energy into the stand-up. But I've always wanted to fight, and it's been a hard thing to kind of decide when's going to be the best time. I'm never really satisfied completely with my jiu-jitsu accomplishments, even though I've been able to do a lot. There's still a couple more things that I want to do, and it's just hard to move away from that and take the gi off and not be able to focus on developing my jiu-jitsu technique and have to start focusing on MMA. But I'm not gonna let the time pass and look back on it and say, oh man, I wish I would have fought. I'm definitely gonna fight MMA at some point in time. I'm hoping next year. This year is tough because it's an ADCC year, and I mean pretty much I have a small break here, for like a month, and then I need to start focusing on preparing for ADCC, which is a major competition. And and then I have my academy, and I have my association and all this other stuff that I'm working on. So I'm hoping that next year is going to be the best time. I've been working really hard to get my academy to a level where the business can run really smooth without me, and it makes it easier for me to travel, because for jiu-jitsu I can train at home. I can do most of my preparation at home. For MMA, I'm going to have to go somewhere and, spend a month or 6 weeks at a camp somewhere else, and that's just hard to do with a business and everything that's on my plate. So I'm just hoping that next year I'll be at a level where everything in my life is, at a point where it can run without me, and I can focus on it, do it the right way, and maybe make a small run at it and get a few fights and see where I can get to. But realistically, I don't see myself pursuing MMA hardcore to become like a UFC champion or anything like that. I want to do it more for the experience, for the challenge, and be able to pass on what I learned in that to my students that want to fight MMA, and just do it for the challenge and know that I did it. But it'll be hard, to go away from jiu-jitsu for very long. So it'll probably be a short kind of 2 or 3 year career, and just see what I can do.
Do you see MMA as an opportunity for you to, sort of prove your jiu-jitsu works, for lack of a better phrase?
Not really, because for me, I would be representing jiu-jitsu, but more than that, like, I feel like I'm a complete martial artist. I've spent my whole life in martial arts, from, everything from Kali, Eskrima, to Wing Chun, to boxing, Thai boxing, all the way to jiu-jitsu, wrestling, judo, submission wrestling. I mean, I've done it pretty much almost everything you can do, and I've competed in pretty much all of that as well. I even used to do stick fighting competitions, where you put on the helmet and the gear, and I used to do Kali tournaments, you know what I mean, and boxing competitions. I even did some karate tournaments, even though I never really did karate, but that way I could work my hands and feet, because I didn't want to just do boxing by itself. I try to compete in everything possible. So I feel like I'm a complete martial artist. And so really it would just be more about me going out there and testing myself as a martial artist. And, I'm not going to be out there just trying to do jiu-jitsu, I'm not going to be stupid and go out there and fight, stand up specifically with a stand-up fighter. I'm going to be smart, but I'm not going to just go out there and try to clinch the guy super fast and because I'm scared of getting hit or something like that, So it would just be a way for me to test myself as a whole, as a complete martial artist, and just kind of get an idea of what what that adrenaline rush feels like, and see how I can handle the pressure, and see, how I perform, and learn from that experience.
Okay. So looks like you have a lot on your plate these days. You know, you have Metamoris, you have ADCC, running your school, your DVDs, your instructional, and now even MMA. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about things that are coming up and what we can expect from Rafael Lovato Jr.?
Well, you know, I'm getting ready to launch this new DVD series, and you know, one of the other things that I'm focusing on a lot, you know, as I do a lot of seminars and I'm traveling around and I'm trying to spread my jiu-jitsu to everyone, I'm actually working hard to expand my association. And just recently, over the last 6 months, I've had a lot of new affiliates join on into my association, and I'm really excited about that. You know, just to build a bigger team and you know, be able to work more with other people, you know, around the world and share my jiu-jitsu to them, you know, even more, you know, personal than just over a DVD series. But, you know, if anyone wants to just get in touch with me and talk with me about seminars or association or anything like that, they can get in touch with me through my website, lovatojr.com. That's just LOVATOJR.com, or they can look me up on Facebook and send me a message, you know. And I love to hear from all my fans and you know, make these connections, you know, through jiu-jitsu and hopefully just, you know, make a big difference and impact as many people as I can. That's what I'm trying to do. And, you know, I'm just so fortunate that I get to do what I love and have this awesome life.
And are there any sponsors you want to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah. So for this weekend, I have a couple great sponsors. You know, On the Mat, Lucky Gi. They've been with me for a long time. I have a signature Lucky Gi out there. That's it's an awesome gi. And if anyone wants to check that out, they can go to myluckygi.com. But I'm also going to be representing Five Grappling this weekend at Metamoris. This is a new competition event, a tournament circuit that's coming up, and they're doing some amazing things. Everyone should keep their eyes out on them. Novatech Laboratories and Kai's Concepts. These are some nutritional sponsors that I have. They have some great products. That's about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I know it's a little bit tough for you because you had Worlds coming up and you're always competing. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me, and I'll let you know when this interview goes up.
Awesome. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck at Metamoris this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. Bye-bye.